Good morning. Happy Friday. Good morning. Oh, good morning, Miss Janicia. Good morning, Mr. Kira. Good morning, Miss Nisi, honey. Good morning, Miss Andrea. Good morning, Miss DG. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. We made it. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Sorry, I was over here reading. Good morning. How are y'all doing this morning? Happy Friday. Y'all just don't know how how much I look forward to talking to y'all in the morning. Good morning, Miss On an Island. Yes, I still got a little bit of the sniffles, but baby, I told Riley this morning when I was dropping her off at school, but I will be back on my 4 a.m. schedule next week. Okay, because March is about movement. Okay, March is about moving in the right direction, moving my body more and more, moving some goals. It's about movement. Okay, it's about getting on out there. So I'm excited for March. We are done with February. Today is the last day. Okay. Good morning, Miss Nikki. Good morning, Miss Carlotta. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I'm gonna give it another minute and then we will get started with our devotional for this morning. Yes. March will be about movement. It will be about getting it together. Okay. Okay. Ain't that how Cardi B said? Girl, I could never. I could never say it like she says it, right? She really be doing it. Good morning, TGIL. Good morning, Miss T. Miller. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, ladies. Good morning, Miss Haley. Good morning. Happy Friday. Happy last day of February. Since I probably won't talk to y'all tomorrow, maybe I might come on live tomorrow. We shall see. Happy beginning of a new month. It's a new month of opportunities. Look at it that way. Okay. Um, Day 10. Day 10. This is moving so fast. Day 10 is victory over the enemy. Trusting God's justice. Woo! Good morning, Miss Valika. Good morning, Miss Natarsa. So, the Bible verse is Esther 7:10. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Let that be a word for you, okay? The devotion is Haman's evil plan backfired. He was punished using the very trap he set. God defends his people. Trust that he will handle your enemies. Our affirmation is no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Remember, it's the weapons out there, okay? We're gonna meet the weapon, right? It's gonna come up, but it's not gonna prosper. Action step. Let go of resentment. Mm. Trust God to fight your battles. And our journal prompt is, have you ever seen God turn a situation around for you? And yes, I have. Okay. I've seen him turn a lot of situations around for me, from a bad marriage, a illness, not having enough. He's turned all those situations around, okay? He has been good to me, and I'm pretty sure we can all find something that God has been good to us about. The fact that we are here speaking to each other through the internet, on phones that are expensive as you know what, that God continues to bless us every day. The fact that we woke up this morning, y'all know that's a blessing, because people did not wake up. As you saw, if you heard yesterday, Gene Hackman and his wife passed away last night. Not last night, the night before last. Well, I don't know exactly when they passed away. Let me not say that. They found them passed away in their beds. I think they think it may have been carbon monoxide poisoning, because the dog unfortunately met his maker as well. So they went to bed probably like, see you in the morning, love you, and did not wake up. Good morning, Miss Naturally Reed. Good morning, Miss Patricia. So God defends his people, okay? Haman's evil plan backfired. He was punished using the very trap he set. So let me read the verse real quick. And I'm going to go over just a little bit of context. So we all know that Esther went into the court. The king gave her the gold scepter. He found favor with her. He offered her half of the kingdom. And he said, hey, what do you want? And she said, I want to have a banquet with you and Haman. She had the banquet. God said, not yet. Don't bring it up yet. Baby, Esther had patience, because I'd have came in through there and been like, he wants to kill us. But, let me not say that on YouTube for they block me. But he wants to do stuff to us. And she did not. She listened. She said it's not the time. She trusted God's timing. Even though he's not mentioned, again, you see him all up and through here. And she said, you know what? When he asked her what she wanted when they were at the banquet, I want y'all to come back again. And it's funny because Haman really thought he had it going on at that point, okay? But the king had a dream. The king had a dream. He had a dream about a time where Mordecai had exposed a plot, okay, to assassinate the king. Good morning, Miss Niecy, baby. He exposed that plot, and God, because we all know this was God, he brought that to the king's remembrance in a dream. And he said, did I ever reward this man for doing this for me? Right? Good morning, Miss Ashley. And when he woke up, he said, he asked his people, he said, have I ever done anything? They said, well, check with the court. Who's in the court? Right? Yes, he was working. Again, he's working on our behalf, even when we don't see movement. Esther went in that banquet. She didn't really see movement. She knew that the king's heart was not postured to receive her request. And especially as women, we need to learn when to make our requests known, okay? We need to understand when people are ready to receive information. That is something that I have learned over the years. When your husband or spouse first comes home, sometimes that's not the time to bring up, well, this needs to be done and that needs to be done and all of those things. Sometimes we need to wait. Sometimes we need to, set the atmosphere, okay? Cook him a nice dinner. And I'm not saying this to manipulate him, because either way, you got to let your request be known. But why not make it comfortable for him to receive whatever information that you have to give, right? So we have to learn the timing, okay? And if we don't know the correct time, we need to learn to ask God for wisdom, which we can always ask him for, as we know, in order to give information at the right time, in order to say the thing that we need to say at the right time, right? So she knew when she went to that banquet, this wasn't the right time. It was to say it at the next banquet. At least that's what she thought, right? So she asked for another banquet. And look how God worked that out, because he gave him the dream the very next night, right? What has Mordecai, didn't Mordecai stop someone from trying to kill me? What did I do for this man? Out of everything that just was brought up to him, right? This was chapter 6, verse 1, when he said, that night the king had trouble sleeping, so he ordered an attendant to bring the book of history of his reign. Oh, I'm sorry. He didn't really have a dream. He had trouble sleeping. I read it wrong. To bring the book of the history of his reign so he could read it to them. In those records, he discovered an account of how Mordecai had exposed the plot of Bergam and Teresh, two of the eunuchs who guarded the door of the king's private quarters. They had plotted to assassinate King Xerxes. Sorry, he had trouble sleeping. That's me reading fast. I just stopped sleeping. So he had trouble sleeping. So, which again, still God coming in and saying, you know how God kind of gets you in the middle of the night. I know he does it to me. He'll either wake me up, or I have trouble sleeping and I know that there's something that I need to look up or pray about or something like that. In this instance, you know, King Xerxes, he wasn't a Christian, whatever was defined as a Christian back then. They didn't really have Christianity, but God troubled him. He couldn't go to sleep. So he looked this up. So Haman was in the court, right? And this is all in chapter 6, leading into chapter 7. Haman was in the court, and he said, well, how should I reward someone who basically, you know, saved my life? And so Haman thought he was talking about him, baby. So he was like, oh, you give him this, you give him that, da-da-da-da-da-da-dee. Thank you, Ms. Monica. Good morning. And he said, he's thinking, okay, you know, the king's about to give me all of these things. So that just shows Haman's selfishness. He was a coward. He was, you know, what we used to call it. if you are from the 90s, y'all know I'm going to be 47, so I'm pretty up there in age. If you are from the 90s, y'all remember that 50 Cent song, Wankster? Okay. He was a wankster, okay? He wasn't about nothing, okay? He couldn't cop nothing. That's how the song kind of went. But anyway, he's thinking that he's talking about him. Kind of find out he's talking about Mordecai. So he says, go get Mordecai and do everything you just said I should do. And Haman is like, oh, man. So he has to go to the court, put these royal robes on Mordecai. Yes, wankster girl. He has to do all of these things, right? And he told his wife and his friends about all the stuff he had to now do for Mordecai, which is his mortal enemy, because he's a Jewish man. He woke up earlier than usually. I had time to pray. Oh, me and my daughter are watching. She wants to say her name is Ella. Hello, hi Ella. So, since Mordecai, this man who has humiliated you as of Jewish birth, you will never succeed in your plans against him. It will be fatal to continue opposing him. So basically they said, now the king has brought Mordecai up here. So Mordecai represents his people, the Jewish people. Also, Esther is Jewish, even though she really hasn't said that she is, right? And so they're like, you're not going to be able to defeat this man. Like, you're not going to be able to get over on this plan that you're trying to make happen. And he decides he's still going to go through with it, even though he's been warned. While they're talking to him, the king's eunuchs, they come and they get him to go ahead and go to the second banquet. So he goes to the banquet. The king is there. He's like, hey, I will give you whatever you want. Again, even half the kingdom, okay? Because again, she's showing up as queen. She's inviting him to the quarters. She's setting the atmosphere. She's making her home nice and comfortable for him. She's, you know, she's making it nice, soft, pretty. He wants to give her whatever she wants, okay? Up to half of the kingdom. Because he still got to have the other half. He still got to have a little power, a little control. And she feeds into that. She feeds into that, right? She knows her man. Let me tell y'all one advice that my former mother-in-law gave me years ago when I was married to her son. She said, learn your man. Learn your man. Learn his moves, learn his weaknesses, learn his strengths, learn everything, learn what he likes, all of those things, what he doesn't like. Learn those things, okay? And I did, okay? Her son, that didn't happen, but this new husband I got, your girl is learning, okay? Your girl's learning. Thank you. So, she said, if I have found favor with the king, and it pleases the king to grant my request, I ask that my life and the lives of people will be spared. For my people and I have been sold to those who would kill, slaughter, and annihilate us. I can't say that word. If we had merely been sold as slaves, I could remain quiet, for that would be too trivial a matter to warrant disturbing the king. So do you see how she presented her request? Okay, she didn't go in there and she said, like I said, she knew about timing. She knew about trusting God for the right timing. And she asked him for wisdom, obviously, on what she needed to say. She didn't go in there and say, Haman's in here trying to kill us. He's the one. She went in there and she said, I need your help. I need your help. I need you to save the lives of myself and my people. And then she even humbled herself. Good morning, Miss Aliola. She even humbled herself before him and said, if it was just about slavery, us being sold into slaves, I wouldn't even bother you with those things. That's trivial for you, right? You're up here, I'm down here. That's basically how she was saying it. Like, if it was just about slavery, this wouldn't even be a concern. I wouldn't even bother you with this. But this is about him killing us. I need your help to save our lives. That is how she presented this whole thing to the king. And the king got angry because we already know he was dramatic, right? We already know that about the king from the stuff we studied in the past, right? Like, he got rid of Vashti quick and in a hurry. We know he acts on things. Like I told y'all, men, they don't take long. They go into action. They do what they got to do, okay, to get what they want. And he wanted to help her. So he was like, well, who's going to do this? Who is going to touch my wife? Okay, who's going to touch my wife? And she said, Haman. He's going to do it. He's our enemy. And Haman was right there, right? And they said he grew pale. And the king jumped into a rage and he went out into the palace garden. We're going to presume he's going to get somebody to take care of this situation, right? Because he's the king. He don't get his hands dirty like that. So while he was gone, Haman started pleading for his life because he already knew. Because, again, he had already had to go do all that stuff in Mordecai. He knew this plan wasn't working out like he thought it was going to work out. He fell before the queen, and they said he fell on her couch. And just as he was returning, the king entered, and he thought that he was trying to attack Esther. And he was like, oh, you're going to try to attack my wife right here in my house? Basically, I'm summarizing this. And so he told his attendants, go get Haman, and he went. And they put Haman in the courtyard on that pole that he had built to kill. He had built a 75-foot pole to kill the Jews. He put Haman on that pole and killed him. Everything Haman thought that he was doing could not, it couldn't mess up God's plan. It couldn't mess up God's plan for his people. His plan, when he put Esther into this position, when Vashti decided that she did not want to come into the court when the king called her in front of all those men, that was God's plan. Maybe it didn't look the greatest for her. Okay, like, we didn't want that to happen to Vashti. We didn't want her to be put into that situation. But it had to happen in order to work out this plan to save his people. Esther had to become queen. She had to go through the things that she had to go through in order to make the king's heart tender, okay? His heart was tender towards Esther, right? God is always working things out. Remember how I said to y'all, we do not, as adults, have to punish other adults, right? Of course, we should enforce our boundaries. We shouldn't let people, run all over us. However, if people that we love and people that we don't, necessarily mess with as well, if they do something to us or they make a mistake, big or small, that is not our job to punish grown people, okay? God talks about children, how we should raise children up, not, spare the rod, which to me means discipline and things like that, but not grown people, okay? He ain't told you to go out here and be punishing grown people. He didn't say spare the rod to grown people. We should always be leading in love, even when we are enforcing our boundaries. And we talked about love and all of that love entails, and it's really such a big thing that a lot of us, I'm gonna speak for myself, not y'all, it's hard to do that. It's hard to love people like 1 Corinthians 13 says, right? It's a lot, but that's what we're called to do, and the only thing that we can do every day is try to do that. You don't need to punish someone for talking bad about you. You don't need to punish your husband for raising his voice with you. I know that sounds like, maybe y'all have an argument and he raises his voice. You say, you know what? I don't like how you're speaking to me. We're going to end this conversation and I'm going by. It's not your job to punish him for it, because believe me, God, he's working it out for you. No matter how many times I hear this particular story, I hear it in a different way. This was really explained well. Amen. Thank you, Ms. Monica. Thank you, Ms. Naturally. So it's not your job to give out punishment. Like right now, what the 92%, as they call it, are doing is what we should have been doing all along. Minding our business. minding our business, right? And that's all that we're ever called to do. Minding our business, minding God's business. Period. It's not our job to go in and be justice fighters and all of that kind of thing. It's not. God is already. Oh, okay, Miss Naturally. God is already fighting battles for us, whatever those may be, big and small. He's already taking care of those things. It's not our job. So I wanted to talk about trusting God to fight our battles as feminine women of faith, which is what this passage is really about. As feminine women of faith, we don't fight our battles through striving, stress, or control. We fight by surrendering, standing in faith, and allowing God to move on our behalf, right? We are not out here trying to figure stuff out, trying to figure out how I'm going to pay this person back for doing me like this. I'm going to cuss them out. We are beyond that. We know that we have someone in our corner that's going to do way more than we could ever think of, right? From my first marriage, there was a lot of infidelity, and I always wanted to make my ex-husband pay for that. Like, until I got into a point where I was healed and none of those things bothered me anymore, I was always like, oh, he needs to pay for this. Oh, I'm gonna do this. I would never really do anything but just be mean to him. And God said, you know what, you're gonna have to stop being mean to this man, even if he don't do right. You cannot sit up here and be mean to this man. As God is having a hard time, she lost her friend from cancer. Do you have any recommendation to help her? No. To understand that, unfortunately, people are called to heaven sooner than others. I don't know. Yeah. People are called to heaven sooner than others. And I know that it's hard because I'm assuming she's very young. And that's a lot to process. But sometimes God needs the people back home more than we need them here on earth. And I know that that's like a simplified, very blah, response. But there's a lot of things that we will never understand in life and that we shouldn't try to understand. Instead, we should just trust God that was the right move. So love on her, and all of those things. But let her know sometimes God calls people home sooner than we would like. So choose prayer over panic, okay? Exodus 14:14 says, the Lord will fight for you. You only need to be still, okay? That's what I'm saying. You don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to defend your name. You don't have to sometimes even speak up for yourself. Sometimes you just have to pray and you just have to be still and wait on God. And wait on him, with the expectation that he's going to take care of this situation for you. He's going to take care of this battle. He's going to fight it for you. A feminine woman doesn't exhaust herself, because we will, trying to control everything. She releases the need to fix, argue, or force outcomes. She prays and trusts. I love that, okay? Because we will exhaust ourselves trying to control the whole situation that we don't need to control. Thank you. All we can do is trust God and know she's in a better place. Amen. Thank you, Miss Dakira. Thank you, Miss Haley. So instead of trying to control everything, we have to learn how to surrender. That word that we love so much. Yes, therapy is really good. That word we love so much, we have to surrender. We have to surrender control of those situations where we think that we need to fight back. We do not have to fix things, okay? We have someone who is the greatest fixer. We do not have to argue, okay? We don't have to force things to happen. We talked about forcing things yesterday. That's not what we do. We pray and we trust God. Move with grace, not resistance. When battles arise, a feminine woman doesn't act out of frustration. She moves with grace, wisdom, and discernment. We always pray to God for wisdom. When things come against us, we need to be praying to God, how should I move in this situation? Just like we assume Esther did. Okay? Esther had great wisdom, which we know is from God, and she had great discernment because she knew it wasn't ready to be discussed at that first banquet. I'm going to need to throw another one, okay? I'm going to need to make my heart the king's heart more tender toward me and my people, right? And she did that. And then even when she came in and he asked her what she wanted, and he asked her what she wanted the first time at the banquet, and she said, I just want y'all to come again and spend time with me. Do you know how much that probably made that man girl, I love you. You know what I'm saying? And she just, God was working all up and through there. And Esther had wisdom, she had grace, and she definitely had discernment. Because again, if it would have been me, first banquet, I'd have came up in there, guns flying, talking about, he's trying to kill us. But Esther knew what to do because of that fasting that she did, and we're assuming praying. All of those things led up to her being wise and her being able to make the right decision and pick the right time to make her request known. Instead of overacting or trying to handle things in your own strength or engaging in unnecessary conflict, take a step back, pray, and trust God to lead. Okay? Next time you're feeling frustrated, and I do this all the time, I always say, I surrender. I surrender. I surrender. Or you can say, this suggests God is in control. I always say I surrender. Because I gotta let God know, listen, I'm out of it, sir. I surrender. Whatever it is that you need to happen in this situation, I already know I can't do it. I'm going to mess it up, Lord. I surrender. Whatever your will is, I surrender. And I say that all the time. Yeah, I don't understand how many times a day. I'm like, not me, Lord. I surrender that to you. I'm sorry. I was trying to do too much, Jesus. My bad. I surrender. So you walk in quiet confidence. We walk in quiet confidence because we know the promises of God, right? We know He promised us certain things. And so we knowing this gives us confidence in knowing that He's going to take care of the things that He's going to take care of, that He's going to fight our battles for us, that He's going to defend us, that He's going to take care of us, that sometimes He's even going to turn situations around where it was meant to harm us, where it makes things good for us. Okay, again, as I always say, everything is working out for your highest good. I don't know per se if the enemy was coming at me when I got sick. I don't really know. But I know that that whole situation that entered into my life was meant to kill me. And I could have been one of those people that said, no, I don't want to take chemo. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. You know, because they'll come to you and they'll be like, oh, you have this decision, because they don't force you to take chemo. They don't force you to do these things, right? And they'll tell you, they're like, hey, if you don't do this, you have about probably 6 months. The cancer's going to come in and kill you. Straight up, they told me just like that. You don't go to chemo, this is probably what's going to happen. And my mom used to be like, when I was going through, she used to be like, oh, you know, you're so strong, and you know, you're here and you're fighting and everything. And I used to tell her all the time, like, Mama, I don't got no choice. Like, what was I supposed to do? Like, was I supposed to ball up and just die? You know, like I used to tell her that all the time, like, what was I supposed to do? What was my choice? And she said, oh baby, you had a choice. And when I thought about it later on, I had a choice. But I trusted God. I surrendered and I said, Lord, if this is what you're leading me to do, then I'm going to just go ahead and do it. And I'm going to trust you that the outcome is going to be good. And it's so funny. I don't ever really share this, but when I originally went, and y'all know I didn't have any insurance. So basically I was going to like a county hospital, right? And sometimes when you get in those situations, they don't want to necessarily help you. They just want to keep you comfortable. And at this point, thank you. At this point, and good morning, Miss Ashley. I was already at stage 4, and there's no stage after that. That's the end, which I didn't know this at the time. I didn't know about all of these stages and everything when I was going through. So when you get to stage 4, sometimes they don't think that you have a chance. So basically they do what's called palliative care. That's what they call it, where basically they're keeping you comfortable before the inevitable happens. And so there's a chemo that basically they give you, and it's like, I guess it's like maybe a milder forms per se. They give you this chemo. They know that it probably is not going to kill everything or do everything, but it will keep you here longer so you can be with your family. That's basically what palliative medicine is, or treatment. So they were trying to give me that chemo at first, and I didn't know anything. You know what I'm saying? I'm trusting these people. Like, they were like, well, you're gonna take, I forget what the name of the chemo was, but they're gonna take this chemo. You're gonna take this chemo, right? So I went in and I met with the doctor, and he was like, okay, well, this is the treatment plan, da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, because again, I know nothing. I go home, I look up this particular name of chemo because I'm nosy like that, and it tells me this is for palliative care. This doesn't necessarily, per se heal you. It could, but more than likely it's not the cancer that they use to fight. Once you're in stage 4, they kind of give up on you. I'm gonna just be honest. And so I was just like, oh Lord, they giving me this cancer. They think I'm gonna die. I ain't gonna make it. Da, 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 da. And I'm just thinking to myself, and I just said, you know what? I surrender. If that's what they say they're gonna do, like, Lord, you can come through and you can heal me through this chemo, right? I ain't gonna worry about it. They called me on the phone the next day and they were like, no, you're not gonna take this chemo. We're gonna put you on this other chemo instead. Now, this chemo is harsher because, you know, like I told y'all, I had to go in, do like 5-6 hours of infusion, like 4 to 6 hours of infusion, just depends. And then I had to take a bag home of chemo and have that run through my body for 2 days, and then go back and get the bag taken off of me. It was connected to me through an IV, through a port. If y'all ever see me scratch this is because my port was removed, but this is the port that they put the chemo through my body, right? They were like, no, we're going to give you this other type of chemo. And I'm sorry that I'm on this story. I won't be on here long. But I was like, so I went and looked up the new type of chemo. This chemo was to try to aggressively shrink the cancer. And I was like, oh, they trying to give me a chance now. They trying to give me a chance now. I didn't fight it. I didn't say, hey, you're not going to give this to me. I'm not taking this. Because again, I really didn't know that much. And I really was just trusting God in this situation. And I didn't know people that had kind of been through this. So there was like nobody really for me to turn to. And I did not like going to the support groups or talking to them because, baby, if you've ever been in a support group, it's not necessarily fun. Okay? There's a lot of trauma bonding that goes on in support groups. And so I always, you know, warn people of that. Hey, before you join a support group, understand these people can maybe bring you down rather than uplift you. And I'm sure all of them are not like that, but when you get to stage 4 cancer, most of them are like that, okay? Because you're seeing people die, you're seeing people sick, and I understand it. I get it because I've been there. However, that was not my hope and my thoughts and what I was believing in, okay? I was trusting God to live. I was asking God, like I told y'all, just let me make it until Riley gets out of high school, okay? Let me make it until Riley gets out of high school. That was my prayer, okay? So, yeah, they gave me the chemo treatment to shrink the tumor, and it did shrink my tumor. And y'all know I had surgeries to remove everything, and I'm here today with y'all. I need to start, you know, I will speak to people about that, but I don't try to live in that. So I don't think that would be something for me to cure, but you know, I understand it. Can't share your testimony enough, Cole. No apology. Thank you, Miss Honor Island. I really appreciate that. My God, what a testimony to what God will do. He will work it out for you. He will fight your battles for you. Like, I had no idea. Like, I was like, what is this? And then when I looked it up and it kept saying palliative care, and I didn't know what palliative meant. You know, I'm like, what does that mean? And I'm looking that up, and you know, it just takes you on this wild goose chase. But in the end, basically it said, they're preparing you to just be comfortable. Okay, they're just trying to prolong your life just enough to be comfortable. Good morning, Miss My Therapy is Planning. But yes, God fought that battle, okay? He knew I wanted to be here. I surrendered to him. I did not fight. I decided to go on that path because just like my mama said, I did have a decision. I did not have to fight this. I could have just said, forget it. I'm tired, because I was tired. I was very, very tired. And I could have gave up, but I didn't. And I'm here. And I'm here talking to y'all ladies and sharing this with y'all. But, so walk in quiet confidence. You don't have to be aggressive. Sometimes you don't even have to assert yourself, okay? Just trust God. Surrender. Know that he's going to take care of you. He said, by my stripes, you are healed. And I just kept saying that to myself over and over again. I remember I used to write in my manifestation journal, I am healed. And one thing that I used to write in my manifestation journal all of the time is, God, I can't say it. I wish I could go find the journal. I think it's somewhere in my storage. But basically, I would say I'm not being punished. I would say I am not being punished. Because sometimes I thought that my sickness was brought on because I was being punished for the things that I've done in the past. And that is at the point where I said, you know what? I have to forgive myself. I am not being punished. When I asked Jesus into my heart and to save me, those things went away. And I really had to come to grips with, I am not being punished, because for a long time I fought that. I was like, man, I'm gonna die. I'm being punished for so and so and so and so and so and so because I am not perfect. I am not perfect, but I had to keep writing that down. I am not punishment. I'm not being punished. And I think I said also in there, Jesus already paid for my sins, which he did when he died on the cross for us. So we have to learn how to forgive ourselves. And that is part of walking in quiet confidence, because sometimes when you think that you are being punished, you don't think that you deserve these promises, right? And so you don't think that God is going to show up and fight on your behalf. God is not human. He should not lie. God's never, God, say it, Miss Ashley. God is not human. He should not lie. God's word never comes back void. God does not condemn us for our sins when we ask for forgiveness and become a child of God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Ashley, for that. But and God forgives us, so why you can't forgive yourself, right? Why do you keep getting caught up in you did this and you did that and thinking that you are being punished when you are not? Okay? Nope. They no longer exist. They no longer exist. So that's a part of walking in quiet confidence, knowing that you are forgiven, you are not being punished, and that God can show up for you because he says that he will. He said that he will fight your battles. He said, be still and know that he is God, that he's going to get it done. He is God. He is God. And what more can you do than God? Nothing, right? So a woman who trusts God does not need to prove herself. She walks in quiet confidence, knowing that he is working behind the scenes. And I'm here to tell you that he is. Okay? Defending yourself is unnecessary. Feeling the need to explain everything is unnecessary. You can just let God handle it. Your peace speaks louder than any words. Your peace in knowing that he's taking care of things. Your peace in the expectations that he is, like Miss Ashley wrote, was that Miss Ashley? Yes, Miss Ashley wrote, he is not a man that he should lie, that he's forgiven us, that his word never comes back void. All of those things. You should have peace in knowing that, and that speaks louder than any you trying to defend yourself. I didn't trying to explain things when people think that you've done something. All of that. You don't need it. You know what? I didn't do that, and I'm going to keep it like that. And keep it moving. Letting go of the need to control outcomes. Feminine faith is about surrendering control. She knows that she does not have all the answers because God already does. We don't have to have the answers. Again, we don't have to exhaust ourselves trying to figure things out. God is in control. He is the one that controls everything, so there's no need for us to grab the reins. We don't have to do that. All we have to do is submit and surrender to his will. Instead of overthinking every decision or stressing about how things are going to unfold. And we've been talking about this the last few days. So I think y'all really, I think God is saying, really pay attention to stressing about how things are going to happen. Please let go of that, because you ain't going to do nothing but stress yourself out. There's no scenario or nothing that you can do that is greater than what God can do. That is greater than his plan. Again, if God had told me all the things that I was going to go through to get to the life that I live right now, and I don't live a glorious life, I ain't trying to say that, but I enjoy my life. I'm comfortable. It is good. I am very, very content and happy. And I thank God every day for it. But if he had told me I had to go through a bad marriage and the stuff that I went through with that and cancer and all of the stuff that I'd have been like, I ain't doing that. Who's doing that? Who's going to go through all of that? Jesus, not me. I'm not. His plan couldn't unfold it because I would have got in the way. Well, his plan would have still unfolded. We all know that. But it would have took a long time. I'd have still been out there. Maybe I'd still been battling cancer. I don't know. I do not know. But I'm glad that I surrendered. And I didn't stress. I just knew when I got sick and I had went to that urgent care and they had seen everything, and the way that things unfolded let me know that God didn't bring me there for me to die in that situation. I was ready to, if that's what God wanted. Again, I told y'all, if I had to go, I just wanted my family to be okay. I wanted my kids to be taken care of and okay. But I didn't think that I was gonna die. I could say that I was scared, but I didn't think that that was gonna happen, because I was like, well, why did he have me go to that urgent care? Like, why did he have me eat that spicy food, which triggered this pain, this real bad pain that I couldn't get rid of, and this person tell me to go to urgent care, and I don't have any insurance, and all of these things. Like, why did he make all of this happen, right? For me to just simply die. I just didn't believe that, and so I didn't know how I was going to get to my healing, but I knew it was going to happen. She takes inspired action and lets God handle the rest. That's taking steps, right? Because faith without works is dead. We can have faith, but we have to also add some work to it, whether that's, praying. It could just be praying and believing and trusting and asking God to order your steps, right? That is working. But we have to put some work with our faith. We can't just say we believe this, and then the next thing you know, we on the phone like, girl, this ain't gonna happen. And I don't know what I'm gonna do to that's not faith with works, okay? That's faith and then doubt. And then you turn it around, okay? And God can't do what he needs to do. So we take inspired action, we let God handle the rest. And something that you can do, and it talks about this, and this is kind of something that I kind of wrote up, but something that you can do is you can write something down, put it in a paper, tear it up, put it in the trash, and that is a form. Sometimes we need physical things to look at to make, us feel better about the situation. It's not, let's just be honest, it's not really, you're not really doing anything, but it's kind of surrendering things in a physical form, writing it down. And I would do this all the time. I'm going to just say that. I would do this all the time. I would write stuff down. I would be like, this, and this, and this is what's going on. This is how I feel, God. And baby, I would tear that paper up. And sometimes I would burn it, and I would put it in the trash. And I say, you know what? I'm not talking about that no more. I've released that. God got it. Okay? Thank you, Miss Haley. Thank you for being here. So let go of the need to control the outcomes. And if you need to do something like that to help you with that, there's nothing wrong with that. Just don't make it like I don't know. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Speak with grace, not struggle. Oh, we just kind of touched on that. The tongue has the power of life and death. A feminine woman doesn't fight her battles with harsh words. She speaks wisely, softly, and with purpose. He loves you as well. Complaining or venting negativity. Speaking doubt over your situation. Instead, you need to be declaring the promises of God over your life. That is what should be coming out of you. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't ever vent. That's why we make journals. That's why we have friends. But also, you don't want to be dumping on your friends. You don't want to be trauma dumping on people. When you come to someone, I think it's best to let them know, listen, I have an issue, and I just want to get this out of my head, okay? And then we're gonna leave it with God, and do it like that, so they know that you're not trying to dump stuff on them, right? Be respectful. Be respectful of people's time and energy, because that's what you're getting when you speak to people. So, complaining and keep on venting and talking about it, what they call is ruminating over a situation. It's just talking about it. You understand that never gets you anywhere. It never gets you anywhere. It just keeps going in that cycle and cycle, because the more you focus on a situation, the more it grows. You have to give that situation to God. You have to surrender. You have to speak what he says, just like Miss Ashley did and wrote in our chat. You have to speak those things over your life, and you have to believe those things and have faith, right? And then do the work part of keeping it moving and not going back and complaining about that situation and talking about it and venting about it and ruminating over it and and woe is me and da 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 da. When you do that, you are speaking doubt over the situation and you are just making it worse. So get your affirmations, get into your word. I used to have a book. I probably have it somewhere. I need to find it in storage and you can probably just go on Amazon. I'll see if I can link some in my Like to Know It, but about the promises of God. Like it's really helpful to know his word. And I know that this is a lot to go through, right? I'm going through it now. I've read the Bible here and there, but I cannot honestly say I've read it all the way through, but I have studied a lot of chapters. But it's really good to know about what he has promised you, okay? That will give you the confidence that you need to go through any situation. Someone once told me, be careful what comes off your tongue because you can't take it back. You cannot. You cannot. Once it's out there, it's out there. And, we used to hear that sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you. That is a lie. That is the lie spun in the pits of hell. And I don't know why they say that, because words can hurt you all day long. Words stay in your brain, okay? Once you have something hurt, and I'm not saying people should hurt you. Please don't get that misconstrued. But once you hurt, you can heal from that, right? You can heal from a broken bone. You can heal from, something happening. But once somebody says those words to you, calls you names, talks to you bad, all of those things, that's hard to get out of your head. But it can happen, okay? Listen, my ex-husband, and this is not to brag on to rag on him. We did not have a good marriage, right? It wasn't good. And he would get into these times and I wish him well now. I wish him peace, because I know sometimes he doesn't have that, and he's told me himself. And that's God like coming back and saying, I told you I would take care of this. Like, he has a lot of things that now in his life he wish were different. We'll just say that. But he used to say stuff to me. He used to call me ugly. He used to call me fat, because I was bigger at that time. I don't think I was fat. But he used to be like, nobody was gonna want you. You got 4 kids. Da 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 da. You'll never be this. You'll never be that. And I can honestly say he's eaten those words. However, those stayed in my head for a long time. He used to say stuff like, if I left him, they wouldn't give me my children, and because I had some issues in the past, and they weren't going to give you your kid. He was going to keep the kids, and just all of these things he used to say to me that were really ugly and really mean and really bad. And even though I've forgiven him, at the time, it took a long time to get those things out of my head and know that that's not what God says about me. He says I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. He said that any mistakes that I made have been forgiven. Like, I had to keep that in mind. I had to keep repeating those things to myself and getting those things that he said out of my head and replacing them with who God says that I am. Girl, don't even worry about that. It is fine. The man, God bless him. I hope that he has peace and everything, right? Yes, he didn't know. And we were young. Let's not get that twisted. We were very young. We did not know what we were doing. I don't think he was ready to be a husband, a father, and all of those things. And he just thought that he was doing the right thing by making, us getting married and stuff like that. And so we have to stop trying to make people be people that they are not, right? Spreading rumors is very hurtful. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Amen. Amen. So speak affirmations over your life instead of complaining, being negative, trauma dumping, venting all the time. Like I said, it's okay to initially vent, but then you need to give that situation to God. You need to surrender. You'll hear me say that all the time because I have to say it to myself all the time. Speak affirmations over yourself daily. God is fighting for me. Everything is working out for my highest good. I say it all the time. I release control and trust his plan. I surrender. All of those things, right? Embrace peace over proving yourself. We always want to try to prove our point, right? Let me speak for myself. I was at a place where I needed to prove my point. I need you to see that this is what's happening, that this is what's going down. And let me tell you, it never works out like that. It never works out like that. When the heartbreak had happened with my ex-boyfriend before I met my husband, I wanted to prove to him that I was worthy. Okay? I was worthy of, this relationship. I was worthy of this marriage. I was always trying to prove my point that I was wife material and all of those things. Performing and proving yourself will never get you anywhere. People that love you do not require for you to perform for them. They love who you are just as you are. And that's not to say that we don't have room for improvement, that we don't make mistakes. Those things definitely happen. But they do not require for you to perform for them to prove your value or worth to them. They see your value and worth right away. They see your value and worth right away and know that you mean something to them, and they do not require for you to perform or prove anything. You should have peace in a relationship, whether that be a friendship, a working relationship, a marriage, any of those things, right? You should not be having to perform in those situations, okay, in those relationships. You saw my value, you saw my worth when you got with me. If you don't appreciate it, then maybe we need to part ways, okay? Because I know my value. I know my worth. I know who God says that I am, okay? If he says I'm a wife, I'm a wife. You may not see me as your wife, and that's cool. That's nothing against you. And I think we have to get out of, we think people are wrong just because they don't see us as we want them to see us. That's their perception. You don't have to accept that. Understand that when people say things to you, you don't have to accept those things. Like, even when people tell you no, you don't have to accept that. You can say, okay, thank you. I know God's working this out for me. I ain't worried about you telling me no. We think that we have to accept things that people say to us and people do to us, and we do not. We can reject those things and keep it moving. That doesn't mean we fight. That doesn't mean we prove ourselves. That doesn't mean we have to do this, that, or the other. That just means we surrender. We trust God that he's working it out. We say that, you know what, maybe this isn't the pathway, Lord. I'm going to let you handle that. Right? That man gave me a list of what I wasn't doing, who I wasn't. Woo, baby. Let me tell you, I used to perform, and now I do not perform at all. My husband gets me. This is me. And that's not to say that I don't have changes, that I'm working on things that, I have to do like I told y'all yesterday. Like, he had to stop me and be like, hey, let me get this out, don't shut me up or whatever. So, like, I definitely have things that I have to work on, but in whole, when my husband met me and saw me and talked to me, he saw my value and he saw my worth up front. He saw my value and he saw my worth as his wife up front. And this is from a man that I went to a Christmas party, and one of his friends said, I had to meet you. I had to meet the woman that made Snotty, of all people, my husband, our last name is Snotty, made, and that's what they call him, made Snotty want to get married. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what was you out here doing, sir? What was you out here doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, this man, and my husband tells me all the time, like, he says he laughs with his coworkers and stuff on his job because they talk about, because they make good money, right? And so they're like, we make all this money, but we don't get to keep it because we have wives and families. But they love it. That's just what they love to brag on, okay? That's just what they love to talk about. I was like, but you love having a wife. And he was like, I do. I do. And I know what I have to do, to take care of my family, to make my wife happy, to make my wife comfortable, to make my children comfortable. So you don't have to perform. I promise you don't. I have been I have been unapologetically me, and that's not to say again that I don't make mistakes and have to apologize, and change some things, but I have been unapologetically me from the beginning of this relationship, and I have never performed or auditioned to be his wife ever. But that last man, I was, yes sir, what you need me to do, sir? Do I need to take care of this for you, sir? Let me tell you, the more you do for a man, the less they care. It's just what it is. I know that people don't want to hear that, but the more you do for them, the less that they care, because you're not meant to do for a man. He is meant to do the doing. You are supposed to be, okay? You're supposed to be. The more you do for him, the less that he cares. He wants to show up as the person that is your hero. He wants to show up as provider and protector. He wants to do all of the things, right? Right? So the more that you try to do, the less you're attractive. And I'm gonna just be honest. Thank you, Miss Shanice. I'm gonna just be honest. That's what it was. Just because you're accustomed to being an independent woman, now your kingdom spouse is a ride. That's right, Boaz is a ride. Yes, I was very accustomed to being an independent woman, and now I am not. And so that is something that we do fight battles on. I would not say fight. We have discussions on, and he has to tell me over and over and over again, because I have been a single mom for so long. Even when I was married, I was a single mom. He has to tell me a lot of times, Nicole, you are no longer a single mother. I am here. And even though he is not physically here, he wants to know everything that's going on. Riley's going to a party, and I mentioned the party, and I had already told her, you need to text your stepfather and ask him about going to the party. And she was like, well, I sent him the invitation. He gave me a thumbs up. And I was like, that's not asking him to go to the party, baby. I can guarantee you the man was busy, and he looked through there and he just thumbs it up and kept it moving. I can guarantee you. So then when I mentioned yesterday, I was like, yes, Riley has band, and then she has a party to go to. And he was like, a party? Who's having a party? I said, well, she said she sent you the invitation. He said, I didn't know what she sent me. I was just, because I know my husband. He said, well, she didn't talk. I said, I've already told her she needs to talk to you. I told her it was okay with me if it was okay with you. Before, I'd have just been like, oh, okay, you can go to the party. And then he'd have been like, well, where Riley going? I'd be like, oh, she going to this party, da 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 da. And he'd have been like, well, nobody said anything to me. And he'd have had to explain to me, Nicole, you are no longer a single woman. Sorry, you are no longer a single mother. You don't have to make decisions by yourself. In fact, you shouldn't be making decisions by yourself. I'm here to help you make decisions. So yeah, that's something that we constantly have a tug of war on, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better. It is hard to change. And I think that, the good Lord, when he had me marry my husband, he knew. And I think that's part of the reason why, for someone who was radically, vehemently, as they say, against long distance relationships, he knew a long distance relationship would be best for me. Now, will our marriage always be long distance? Because, my husband, he lives here, but he works out of town. Will it always be that way? No. And I think he's preparing me for that, because I think that's going to change probably soon. But I think initially we needed this space. We needed this space for things to work. Okay. So God be knowing what he's doing. He be knowing what he's doing. Okay. So trust him. That's all I can say. Trust him, because he definitely knows what he was doing. My ex thought I was competing. I would say I was showing him up, but I didn't understand. Yeah, no, they don't want you to compete with them. Listen, women, as feminine women, just be. We have to stop trying to control everything. And it's really just us trying to control stuff. And that's part of where the performing comes from, because we figure if we do this, then they'll do this. And that's not how men work. They do not like to be controlled, okay? When men see relationships, they see shackles, okay? They feel like their freedom is going to be given up. And that is why I tell y'all, you have to cultivate your own wonderful, juicy life, because when you do that, they see you free, they see you flowing, they see you moving, and they desire that, and they just want to be a part of that, okay? No man wants to be the center of your universe. He shouldn't be the center of your universe. God should be the center of your universe, right? We have to learn how to make ourselves happy and content and have a full life, okay? And I promise you, doing that and loving on yourself will attract someone who wants to be a part of that, right? Anyway, embrace peace over proving yourself. So we talked about that. Staying graceful, knowing that your peace is more powerful than you having to defend yourself, okay, or prove yourself. And that's not a peaceful situation. Let's just say that. You having to constantly perform and try to show up and make people see you and do for you and all of these things and controlling the situation, that is not peaceful, okay? You do not sleep well at night because you're steady trying to say, well, what can I do to make things better? Well, what can I do so they'll see my worth? Well, what can I do so they'll value me? Like, that's not peace. And that's not what God calls for us. Let your peace be your power. Don't try to prove yourself, defend your name, fix the situation, perform, any of those things, okay? Let your peace be your power. Trust that God's timing is perfect, which we saw in the story. Romans 8:28 says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, which is where I get God is working everything out for our highest good. A woman of faith trusts that even delays are divine redirections. Okay? Delays are divine redirections. She doesn't force, chase, or rush. She waits with grace. And we kind of talked about that yesterday. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not into thine own understanding. Hold on, y'all. Yes, ma'am, I have one. Okay. So instead of worrying about when things will happen or trying to force the outcome, we trust God. We trust him even in the delays. We trust him even when he redirects us. We know that he sees things that we don't see. He is working things out in the background. Remember, there is always movement. Just like we saw in this story, the king could not sleep. Okay, that was God. That was God saying, don't you remember when Mordecai tried to save your life? You forgot about that? You never thanked that man for that. That was nothing but God. And remember, how do I say this without sounding? A lot of times people just like for it to be their idea. It's just what it is. You have to learn in life, especially as feminine women, that there's no need for you to take the credit, okay? You often hear, do you want to be married or do you want to be right? There's no need for you to always have to take the credit. Sometimes you'll be credited, don't worry about it. But sometimes when you don't get the credit, don't feel bad about that. Did things happen the way that you favored them to happen? Did the things happen that you wanted to happen? That's sometimes what you have to think about, right? God let it be the king's idea, right? He didn't know anything about that whole plot. Even though they had that first banquet, the king did not know anything about that whole plot. But he couldn't sleep. And God said to him, even though he wasn't a godly man, what about Mordecai? What about Mordecai? What about Mordecai? And then The next day, they had this banquet, and Mordecai, who is a Jewish man, who was also Esther's uncle, who raised her, that next day, Esther was able to make her request known. And again, let's remember how Esther made her request, right? She did it in a way to make it the king's idea. It may not seem that way, but that's how Sister Girl laid it out, right? I need your help. I need your help to save my life and my people's lives. And then again, she humbled herself because she was making it his idea, making it. If this was about us being slaves, I wouldn't have even bothered you, okay? Because that's slavery. We can work. That's nothing. But he's going to kill us. And the king said, well, who is this enemy? Because I'm going to take care of this. Haman. And he took care of it. Sometimes we have to not worry about taking the credit. Sometimes it just has to seem or appear as if it's their idea. And in this case, it wasn't about taking the credit. It was about saving her people's lives. So what's the bigger picture? That's sometimes how we have to think. A woman of faith trusts that even delays are divine redirection. She doesn't force, chase, or rush. We talked about that yesterday. She waits with grace. We don't worry about things when things will happen, and we don't worry about forcing the outcome. We pray, we prepare, and we trust that everything will come together in the right season. Femininity, again, it's really about just being, about surrendering, about moving with wisdom and discernment and grace. It's not about making things happen because the good Lord is already taking care of it, right? He's already making things happen on our behalf. So just remember that. You don't have to perform. None of that is required of you. So you don't panic, you pray, you don't strive, you surrender, and you don't stress, you stand firm in your faith. Your greatest power is in letting God fight for you. Again, we don't have to punish grown people. There are natural consequences to everything that we do and what others do. Those consequences aren't just for us. When others make the same mistakes, they have those consequences as well. It may not seem that way sometimes in life, but believe me, they do. I truly enjoyed this one. I'm definitely going to watch from the beginning. Love you, sis. Thank you for joining us, Monica. With delays, I try to tell myself I want good, but God wants to give me great. Yes, we have to stop being okay with good enough, thinking this thing, sometimes this thing is just good enough. It's not God's best. We want God's best. We don't just want good enough. Like I said, my ex, he was good enough. He was a good man. No shade, no tea. But he wasn't God's best. My husband, I feel like he's God's best for me. Like, the things that people say, again, that I shouldn't have at my age, with what I've been through, with how many children I've had, and all this kind of stuff, I have it. I don't have a lot of stressors that I used to have in my life, and I'm grateful for that. Right? And so I think I would have had some of those stressors had I married my ex, right? I'd still had some of those stressors. I would have, but I don't now. And God knew, because honestly, with me being a cancer thriver, I can't take on a lot of stress like I used to. That translates into bad things to my body, and I'm not down for that. And my husband truly understands this, truly, and I thank God for him, because he will tell me, no, they're not about to stress you out. This is not about to stress you out. We're going to take care of this. I'm going to talk to whoever. He's that type of man, and I'm grateful for him. So your greatest power is letting God fight for you. Walk boldly, move gracefully, and trust that everything is working out for your highest good, okay? So make sure that you understand about surrendering, releasing control, praying to God for wisdom and discernment. And yes, peace surpasses all understanding. Yes, we need to be moving with the peace that we know that God is handling things for us. Oh, baby, I don't got to worry about that because God's going to handle this. Even when things happen and you're like, dang, God, like, why did you let that happen? Know that that's a part of the plan, okay? Don't get upset by it. You know, of course, we have emotions and feelings, and I'm not saying don't feel your feelings, but don't stay in that, okay? Understand that this may be a delay, it may be redirection, but God's still working it out. He's still working it out, right? So, day 10, victory over the enemy, trusting God's justice. Our Bible verse is Esther 7:10. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Let that be a word. The devotion is Haman's evil plan backfired. He was punished using the very trap he set. God defends his people. Trust that he will handle your enemies. Our affirmation is no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Our action step is let go of resentment. There's no need for you to resent because God is fighting your battles. Trust God to fight your battles. Our journal prompt is, have you ever seen God turn a situation around for you? And yes, I have. Many times. And I hope that you have as well. I know that you have as well. That for sure I know. Or else you wouldn't be here with me today. So I do want to let y'all know, I did start an Instagram page. This you don't have to follow, but basically I'm going to start like posting tidbits that we have talked about in the devotional and kind of putting it there in an easier format. And I've done that yesterday. I have some other stuff on there, and it is called Seasoned Soft Set Apart. Seasoned Soft Set Apart. We talked about it. I love that name. I think that's what I'm going with. So if you want to follow that Instagram page, give it a follow. I was just going to keep quiet about it because I've had it like for a few weeks now. But, oh, excuse me. But God's saying, don't be quiet, girl. Say what you got to say. So if you would like to follow, I'd appreciate it. But if not, I'm okay with that too. I don't force anything. Whatever happens, happens. So, yeah. That is our devotion for this morning. I may come live tomorrow, and I don't know if I'll have anything specific to talk about. I will let y'all know in the community page. But I am about to get ready because my grandson will be here soon, so we can pay all day. Y'all, I brought a bubble gun. Y'all know the bubbles. Anyway. Baby, at first he was scared of that thing. He was scared, but now he loves it. He be looking for me to shoot it so the bubbles will come out. It's so cute. I gotta share a video in my Instagram stories. I haven't been on Instagram stories this week. I've just been chilling. God has told me sometimes you just gotta chill on stuff, and so that's what I've been doing. Thanks to God, I'm told him I'm 5. Used to date single, but the Lord. No. Don't say single, Miss Ashley. Helping me raise these beautiful babes. I'm patiently waiting on a vlog to help her job. Oh, okay. It's going to be today. I promise y'all. Y'all got my promise. It's going to be today. I finished editing last night. All I need to do is add the music and the text. And I promise it's going to be up. It may be up late, but it's going to be up. I would tell them, you said, my husband's in this vlog, so y'all love it because he in there getting on my nerves. Yeah, I have a good weekend. I pray and intend that you will have an amazing day, a blessed day, that you don't have to fight any battles, that you have the peace and understanding that God is working everything out for your highest good, and that you have the most amazing weekend. And if I don't see y'all tomorrow, then I will see y'all on Monday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. Really good, inspiring. It's been a really good, like I have been out here for hours, like for over an hour, almost every day. It's crazy. Y'all have a good weekend, and I will see y'all on Monday, if not tomorrow. Bye, y'all.